The first video game I ever played was Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland. I think, I don't know. I had a lot of GBA games. And I played all those GBA games on an exquisite silver Game Boy Advance SP. Fun fact, so most people know that there's the Game Boy Advance and then the Game Boy Advance SP with the clamshell design, but what most people don't know is that there are two models of the Game Boy Advance SP, distinguishable only by their model number. AGS-001 only has front lighting, so while it's better than the original Game Boy, it's still pretty bad. But the AGS-101 has proper backlighting, so the games are bright and clearly visible, but the consequence of the colors are more saturated than they're supposed to be because the games weren't designed for those bright screens. I think the games I played the most were Nightmare in Dreamland, Amazing Mirror, Astro Boy, Mega Factor, Yoshi's Island. I think GBA games helped teach me how to read. The last game I remember seeing running on that Game Boy Advance SP was Mother 3, the fan translation, which probably would have been pretty new at the time. My brother Brian was playing. He was on Chapter 3 with a monkey, but something was wrong. All the grass tiles changed into this brown and tan diamond pattern that made it look like he was in a desert, even though he was just in Tazmily. Next thing I remember, the GBA is broken into two halves, and Dad has put it in a box in the basement. He orders a replacement shell for it and says he'll fix it later, and whenever I ask him about it, he says that all the small parts in there will be really hard to work with, so it stays in the basement for years. Sometimes I would sneak down into the basement and look at it, but when I tried to open it, the two halves came dangerously close to falling apart, so I closed it and put it back. And then, in 2023, my film teacher tells me that for the next project I can either make a how-to video or a video about my struggles. Since I don't want to bore you and depress me with a sad tale about my trauma, I decided on the how-to, but what to do for the how-to video? The only thing I'm really knowledgeable about is software, but it's not really possible to be cinematographic with software, and tech help videos that could easily just be a text post are the worst. The only physical thing I'm knowledgeable about is baking, but everyone else in class is going to do baking, aren't they? I needed my submission to stand out, so I decided that I needed to repair the Game Boy Advance SP. What you'll need is a tri-ring screwdriver, a Phillips screwdriver, and of course your replacement shell. And also you might need some pliers, some tweezers, and you really should get a spudger, which I don't think we had at the time. I have 4 screwdrivers here. I know the one that says PH is the Phillips, and the one with the 3-point symbol is the tri-ring, but I have no idea what these 1 and 2 screwdrivers are. Oh, and you may need some power tools. You'll understand later. Here's the box. The BSI and BS Lite are in there too. 3D printing wasn't really commonplace when Dad ordered the shell. I'm not even sure if 3D printing existed at all, so this shell would have been made from a mold. First, what you want to do is turn the system upside down and unscrew the Phillips screw holding down the battery cover. Oops. First, what you want to do is ask your mom to unscrew the battery cover for you because you've never used a screwdriver in your life.
Usually clockwise is tightening, counterclockwise is untightening.
You have to kind of press down while you turn it, but I don't know that I'm actually even turning it.
Turning it clockwise? Grab this tab to remove the battery. Next, unscrew the 4 tri-ring screws on the corners holding down the back cover. They're pretty big screws, so they shouldn't be hard to get out. And then my dad came home and caught me struggling with the screws. So he, basically did the entire rest of the repair by himself while I filmed it.
Let's see if it'll drop out now.
Oh, I think it already did.
Small, okay. Let's see, there's the other one, okay.
There There are still 2 smaller tri-wing screws on the top and bottom of the back cover. All we have to do is get these little screws out and we can see the motherboard.
I think they're still very tight. Yeah, there you go.
Are you using the right screwdriver for them, or?
That's a good question. Try with the small one, but they are being very difficult to get out. I don't know if I can even get these ones. That doesn't look like a screw. That's weird. These screws are very ridiculous. If your screwdriver doesn't turn the screw, but it just keeps turning and in the slots that it's supposed to grab, it wears the slots out, and after a while you just have a hole and you can't get a grip on it. Now we're not too worried about damaging this case to get it apart because we're going to be replacing it. So we may have to do something a little more destructive to get these out. Now, we might be able to use something like a Dremel tool to cut it out, but it could get a little crazy. Okay.
Oh boy, this is the big one.
Here we go. We did it. We just took out the heads of these screws, and then we have to try to get those screw pieces out. So is get the motherboard out now? Is that the next step?
Once you've gotten past the barrier of the evil tri-wing screws, you'll see that the motherboard is just held down by Phillips screws. A smaller screwdriver is better for getting a good grip on these. I seem to not be turning it.
And sometimes with a tight screw, the little trick is going back and forth like this. It breaks it loose, and then you can go.
Be careful when lifting out the motherboard. The ribbon cable is still attached. Push down on these little gray bits to loosen the ribbon cable.
There we go. Almost out. There we go.
And when you're handling the motherboard, if you're not wearing nice plastic gloves, try to only hold the motherboard at the edges.
There was a whole peg here that's now broken off, which doesn't matter because this is all garbage.
Remember to unscrew this bit before pushing the ribbon cable through the slot. I was gripping it wrong the whole time.
And the other thing is to try to keep the shaft, the screwdriver, nice and straight up and down. Yep, go right through.
Now that we have the bottom half of the console separated from the top half, we can get that nice backlit screen out of its bezel. Just remove the rubber pads and unscrew the 5 tri-wing screws. Also, don't wear these gloves. They're awful at everything except for looking pretty. Unscrew the 5 tri-wing screws and lift off the case. Now, with everything disassembled, we're ready to... Oh, wait, the hinges. Here's a tip that professional guides won't tell you. Never, ever force the hinges. Ever. You'll injure the hinges. You'll injure yourself. Just pop this part off, then turn them until they slide out. And push these caps off. Okay, now we're ready to put everything in the new case. Put this nut in the back part of the bottom half. You should test to see if your replacement case will fit your motherboard. If it doesn't, you'll have to trim bits of the base with a small, sharp knife, but ours fit perfectly, so we can't demonstrate that to you. Oh yeah, and if your case doesn't come with the front and back already separated, you'll have to separate them with a spudger. Put the screen in its new bezel. Probably guess what the next step is. Get all of the screws started before you tighten them completely, or else things will get out of alignment.
We're going into the plastic that's never had a screw in it before, so there's actually a lot of resistance. So there's quite a pretty high potential for stripping the screw the same way we do when we take them out. We have to be careful that they start nicely and go in straight. If they go in crooked, it's trouble. So I'm going to turn all of the screws a little bit. Try to get them all going in nicely. Because you want it all the way in, but you don't want to turn so hard that you damage the screw. But there comes a point where it's like, okay, I think it's stopped. So what we'll do is we'll check the edges. You see we're not all the way together here. So we want to squeeze, and and make sure everything's squeezed tight. Now that I've squeezed it, I can finish tightening.
Slip the ribbon cable through the slot in the bottom half. Put this cylindrical cover over the ribbon cable. Keep in mind that any buttons are just sitting loose in the case, so if you tip the console too much, they'll fall out. Your replacement case probably comes with buttons, but don't forget the speaker. And don't forget the little screw underneath the ribbon cable. Make sure it's tight, or else the cylindrical cover will fall off. Plug the ribbon cable into the motherboard. This is the most difficult part. Tweezers might help. Here's what a plugged-in ribbon cable looks like.
This part's catching right in the center. Oh! Old stuff that didn't come out. Okay, this is promising. We can kind of crunch it. There we go. Oops. Oh, just where did that come? Where did that little button come from? So it's should be way over here somewhere. So it's under this. That's what's wrong. Beautiful. Then this part can go back. Oh yeah, when you lift this up, this one tends to get caught up. I think that might have something to do with our problem. So let's just double check that that's in correctly. Oh, I see the problem. This wasn't supposed to be in here. This was part of the
Old set.
That's why we had a bump there. So that's why she should never be too quick to just force things. No.
Screw the motherboard in. Place the back cover on top. Make sure the pins align with the holes. Screw in the back cover, starting with the 2 small screws on the top and bottom, and ending with the 4 big screws at the corners.
Now let's see if we're tight everywhere. See how that's still coming apart? So it's not all the way there. You can see it's not all the way down. So try to get this one all the way down. Get our screwdriver in good.
Last is the hinges. Put the caps on the hinges before putting them in the console. Are you sure you want to put those broken hinges in?
No, I think that's okay.
Put the hinges in the holes while the console is closed. Put the dark hinge on the side with the L shoulder button. Slowly open the console all the way while pushing in the hinges. When done, the hinges shouldn't be popping out at all. They should either be flush with the surface or even a little bit sunk into the surface. Now just put the battery in and screw in the battery cover. Good as new. The battery may need to be replaced. Why don't we try it out with an authentic copy of Kirby and the Amazing Mirror?